December 15th, 1945, Tokyo. The war is officially over, but Japan is not at peace. American military police stand guard outside the Imperial Palace while smoke still rises from neighborhoods erased by firebombs. The man inside that palace is alive, Emperor Hirohito. To the outside world, he is a defeated monarch. To the Japanese people, he is something far more dangerous, a living god. And inside Washington, a question is being argued behind closed doors with frightening seriousness. What if the United States executes him? History tells us America spared the emperor. What history rarely explores is how close that decision came to going the other way. There were U.S. officials, military officers, and Allied voices who believed Hirohito should hang as a war criminal, not imprisoned, not exiled, executed, publicly, as a final symbol that Japan's old world was dead. But what almost no one asks is this: what if America had done it? What if the United States had executed the Japanese emperor? Before we go deeper, let me ask you something. If you're holding your phone right now or watching this on your screen, have you subscribed yet? If you haven't, do it now. Subscribe to World War II Dark Secrets. The United States emerged from World War II as the richest, most powerful force the world had ever seen. Its factories were untouched. Its military spanned the oceans. Its decisions would shape the future of humanity. And in Japan, America now ruled absolutely. General Douglas MacArthur was more than an occupier. He was a kingmaker, and the fate of Hirohito rested ultimately in American hands. To understand how explosive this decision would have been, you must understand what the emperor meant. Hirohito was not just a head of state. For centuries, Japanese emperors were believed to be direct descendants of the sun goddess Amaterasu. Children were taught to die for him. Soldiers charged machine guns screaming his name. Civilians leapt from cliffs rather than surrender in his honor. Even after defeat, millions believed the emperor was divine. American intelligence knew this. Psychological warfare units warned Washington that killing Hirohito could shatter Japan in ways no bomb ever could. Yet others argued the opposite, that sparing him was a betrayal of justice, that his voice sanctioned war, that his silence enabled massacre. In the Philippines, in China, across Southeast Asia, survivors demanded blood. Some Allied leaders quietly agreed. The question was not morality, it was control. Because if America executed Hirohito, Japan would not simply mourn, Japan would explode. In this alternate path, Washington decides the risk is worth it. The logic is cold and imperial. Kill the symbol. Break the myth. Force Japan to rebuild without its god. The decision is approved quietly, then prepared with military precision. The execution is announced as a legal necessity. Hirohito is charged as a war criminal, accused of approving aggression, remaining silent during atrocities, and embodying the ideology that fueled total war. The trial is brief. The outcome predetermined. On the morning of the execution, American troops lock down Tokyo. Radio broadcasts are cut, newspapers are seized, but rumors spread faster than bullets. By the time the sentence is carried out, millions already know. When the announcement comes, it does not land like news, it lands like a detonation. Across Japan, the reaction is immediate and violent. Shinto priests declare the act a cosmic crime. Veterans tear off occupation armbands and rearm themselves with hidden weapons. Entire police units refuse orders from American commanders. What the United States hoped would be closure becomes ignition. Small uprisings erupt within hours. Not coordinated, not organized, but relentless. Attacks on American patrols, sabotage of supply depots, assassinations of Japanese officials cooperating with the occupation. MacArthur's headquarters receives reports faster than they can be processed. This is not surrender-era chaos. This is ideological revolt. American planners had believed Japan was exhausted. They underestimated what martyrdom does to a defeated people. Within weeks, the situation escalates. What begins as scattered violence transforms into something far worse. A civil war inside occupied Japan. Loyalists versus collaborators, emperor worshippers versus reformists, and the Americans trapped in the middle. The United States responds the only way it knows how, with force. Curfews, mass arrests, entire neighborhoods sealed off. The same industrial power that crushed Germany now turns inward on a broken island nation. But this is not Europe. This is not a battlefield with front lines. This is an insurgency fueled by faith. By early 1946, Japan is no longer merely occupied, it is bleeding. American casualties begin to climb, ambushes become daily events, rail lines are sabotaged, ports burn, food distribution collapses. Washington is stunned. The war was supposed to be over. Instead, headlines whisper a terrifying phrase, Second Pacific War. Inside the Pentagon, planners realize the unthinkable. They may need to reconquer Japan. Entire divisions remain stationed on the islands instead of rotating home. Families back in the United States watch as sons who survived Iwo Jima die on Tokyo streets months after victory was declared. The American public grows uneasy. This was not the peace they were promised. The insurgency gains structure. Former officers form underground cells. Propaganda leaflets depict Hirohito as a martyr god murdered by foreigners. Children are taught to hate again. And then the worst fear emerges. The Soviet Union watches closely. Stalin sees opportunity in chaos. A destabilized Japan means leverage in Asia. Soviet agents make contact with rebel factions. Weapons begin to appear that were never stockpiled by Japan. America now faces not just rebellion, but proxy war. The United States responds with overwhelming power. Entire regions are placed under martial law. Villages suspected of aiding rebels are relocated. The occupation becomes brutal, efficient, merciless. History would later debate whether America saved Japan or crushed it twice. By 1947, casualty numbers rival some late war campaigns. Japan's economy, which in reality rebounded rapidly, instead collapses entirely. Famine spreads. Disease follows. The emperor's death does not erase old beliefs, it fossilizes them. As the violence drags on, Washington confronts a darker question. Was executing Hirohito a mistake? Privately, officials admit what cannot be said publicly. Killing the emperor unified Japan in a way no militarist ever could. He became more powerful dead than alive. But America does not retreat. It doubles down. New leadership structures are imposed by force. Shinto is aggressively dismantled. Religious institutions are seized. The very cultural core of Japan is attacked in the name of stability. This radical restructuring creates a nation that survives but never heals. By the early 1950s, Japan is technically pacified, but it is not an ally. It is a garrison state. American bases dominate the landscape. Resistance simmers underground for decades. The Cold War in Asia becomes far bloodier. Korea is worse. Vietnam begins earlier. The myth of American benevolence is shattered across the region. The United States remains dominant, wealthy, militarily unmatched, but the cost is moral corrosion. Japan never becomes the economic miracle of our timeline. It becomes a cautionary tale. A nation broken not by defeat, but by the execution of its soul. In this alternate history, the execution of Emperor Hirohito changes everything. It proves that even total victory can create disaster if power ignores culture. It shows that some symbols cannot be destroyed without consequences. The United States still wins the century. Its wealth, industry, and military dominance remain unmatched, but the world views its power with fear rather than trust. Japan survives, but never forgives. And history asks a final, haunting question. What was more dangerous, letting a defeated god live, or killing him and turning him into something eternal? Because sometimes the most devastating weapon is not a bomb. It is a decision.